Welcome to the War Room, a weekly roundtable discussion that takes place every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Tune in at 911warroom.com/Zoom.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is 5:02 on October 2nd, 2022. Welcome to the 911 War Room. Thank you for being here. And we'll start off real quick, like we do every week, with 9/11 news. And here we go. The top headlines that I've seen that I just wanted to discuss. Feel free to chime in anytime here, interrupt me if you will. FDNY loses retired firefighter George Triptree to 9/11 related illnesses. Retired firefighter will be laid to rest Monday after succumbing to a 9/11 related illness. From ladder 173 passed away Friday. His death comes as the FDNY's post 9/11 death toll quickly approaches the number of firefighters who died that day. Now they're up over 300, with still 1,000 more still battling cancer. 343. So rest in peace, Mr. Triptree. There. And again, as we talked on former 9/11 War Room calls, the cancer rates for other folks in the area well over 10,000, 3 times those that died that day.
Wow.
9/11 Memorial vandalized on campus for second year in a row. The Young Americans for Freedom 9/11 Memorial was vandalized at Michigan State University for the second year in a row. They had put the American flag and the 2,977 lives, never forget. Somebody added the 461,000 Iraqi civilians and the red handprint. So at that point, the campus basically tore down the memorial and said it was abandoned. I know I have mixed feelings about this. One, we definitely would like to see the memorial for those lives lost, but we can't forget that this criminal event that happened on September 11 killed a lot more people around the world, and this needs addressed.
Why did they tear it down?
I don't know. It just said they figured.
That's really awful.
Yeah, miniature American flags had surrounded the rock, but they were reported to have been thrown in the dumpster by landscapers after the university claimed the memorial had been abandoned. So they just gave up on the memorial completely. Anyways,
they wanted to forget, right?
Yeah, never forget. Yeah.
Oh man,
That's a rough one. This one I can't get access to, New York Times, but at least I can see the headline. House passed a bill several days ago to give the $2.7 billion to families of 9/11 victims. Measure passed at an overwhelming bipartisan vote. The last action of the House before lawmakers departed to campaign ahead of the November midterm elections. So this was our last feel-good thing, it seems to me, to do. So some of that money's coming to the 9/11 victims, and
What took them so long?
Yeah, really don't know, and I can't get to the articles. Like
more of a hush money, kind of keep them quiet, or do you think it's more like actual compensation?
I don't know, because I did, my thought on this was you get more money to the 9/11 victims, they're going to be more emboldened to now they got money to actually go for legal cases and things. And as Mick has pointed out, that 1.8 billion average victims family compensation fund that we hear that says, oh, that caused the victims' family members to suspend their ability to sue the government. Mick pointed out that does not limit their ability to go after anybody else as far as perpetrators involved in the crimes.
Yeah, and as far as hush money, I mean, that would be 21 years later. Anything they wanted to say, they would have said by now, under the circumstances they were in. So I don't see it as being hush money.
Well, this isn't the only package that they've received, though, right? This isn't the first time they've received money.
Right. But if they've already received hush money, then why add to it, though?
I wonder if any of them would want to donate to the lawyers committee.
That'd be a rough email chain to get a hold of, I'm sure. The next one, this is about the Guantanamo Five. Hopes for settlement in 9/11 case defer public hearings more than 2 decades on. This come out October 1st. I'm going to skip to it's a lot of boring reading. I want to get to these 2 paragraphs that I find the most telling. The next, so basically, well, I want to preface that by saying they don't think they're going to have a November meeting, so there may not be any more meetings in 2022. So there's 2022 meetings at Guantanamo Bay. That's kind of upsetting. They just keep kicking this can down the road for these people. These 2 paragraphs. The next step hang in the balance. If any plea agreements are reached, the military commission will eventually hold a sentencing trial, or perhaps multiple trials, depending on severance determinations, at which the defense teams and the prosecution will present parts of their cases to a jury of military officers. However, if negotiations break down, McCall, the new judge, is expected to resume the suppression hearing with witness testimony of the admissibility of confessions the defendants made to the FBI agents on Guantanamo Bay in 2007. The government has said that these statements were among the most critical evidence in the case. Now, here's the problem with that. So these guys were tortured and gave a certain amount of evidence to the CIA, and then later on, there's a little bit of time difference, and then they gave their admissions to the FBI. Now, this paragraph. Prosecutors contend that the defendants made their statements voluntarily in rapport-based interview sessions with the FBI, and the statements are sufficiently attenuated from the coercive interrogations at CIA black sites in prior years. Defense teams claim that the statements are tainted by the CIA's past torture of their clients, as well as by the FBI's coordination with the CIA during both the black site and Guantanamo Bay interrogations. So I'm sure these guys are a little nervous on when you're answering the FBI a little bit later after you just got tortured by the CIA. What was that? What's the big guy's name? Not the big guy.
Sorry, Jean, can you just maybe mute, because there's a lot of background noise?
That's somebody else.
Yeah, no, I know, obviously, but I think it's Florence. But yeah, just be mindful of the background noise, please. Sorry, go ahead.
So the gist I want to get here is that the CIA tortured, say, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed 186 times, I think it was, and even threatened to kill his family. So you admit certain things to the CIA. Then you give your testimony to the FBI, and the FBI is running with it, saying they have their most critical information. Well, I'm sure some of the information and stuff that you got was from the guy that was still terrified that he was going to be completely tortured for some other government agency. So it's a shame. 21 years, these guys still have not had a real hearing on any involvement they've had in it so far. So, and this is with the Motley Rice lawsuit and the Kreindler and Kreindler-Ross lawsuit. They unfortunately don't want to touch these taboo subjects that the Lawyers Committee is going after. And I say the Lawyers Committee for 9/11 Inquiry, Mick Harrison, they're going after the controlled demolitions of the buildings, the anthrax attacks, and now they're considering going after cover-up. Meanwhile, Motley Rice and Kreindler won't touch these other subjects, and it's bothersome in that. And the cases that Motley Rice and Kreindler are going after, there's been no justice in 21 years. Not that there has been with us either, but anyways, that's all we'll say about that. This article, I'm getting down to the last couple here. Lessons learned, aerial firefighting in the high-rise rescue since 9/11 attacks by Jennifer Ferraro. And I read the entire article, and she talked more about battling fires aerially. And she mentions high-rise, but only to get people to the roof to take them away aerially. There's nothing to really discuss in here about it fighting high-rise fires. So I thought this was interesting. This might be something that Eric Lawyer or Captain Raul Angulo could reach out and talk to this lady. Lessons learned about battling high-rise fires since 9/11. So we can pursue that. I just wanted to bring
Who
that
is
to you.
she?
She is, it says at the bottom here, A professional writer and communication consultant, having worked with hundreds of Washington top companies over 25 years, including aerospace and advanced manufacturing. So absolutely nothing with fire rescue. But for whatever reason, she wrote a whole article on lessons learned aerial firefighting and high-rise rescue since 9/11 attacks. So, yeah. I'll reach out to her. It might be a lead. And this one, I don't, I'm just going to read the headline. I don't really care what anybody believes about QAnon. I'm not saying I believe it, don't believe it. I just reporting this article, this story, because I find it interesting. QAnon influencer involved with election administration candidates coalition claims 9/11 a false flag by a shadow government agency. So this gentleman, Juan O'Savin, falsely claims that Osama bin Laden didn't have shit to do with 9/11. Which he's actually right, because the FBI never ever, they've pinned him to 93, but he's never admitted or they found anything to do with him to have anything to do with the 9/11.
Well,
And
he
I
was
find-
never charged by the FBI with it either.
Correct. And I think it's funny, one of the other things they say in here about this guy, I just got to read it. In one interview posted online September 18th, Savin claims that his buddy Bill Cooper, referring to a deceased military member and influential conspiracy theorist, predicted an attack on the World Trade Center months before September 11th, saying that the government was going to try and pin something on Osama bin Laden. He added that Osama bin Laden didn't have shit to do with 9/11. He claimed that it was somebody's way of conning you to get you so you'd already accept what they wanted you to do. He repeated these baseless claims in multiple interviews posted online the same day. He said that Cooper was right, that the September 11 attacks were staged, and then Vice President Dick Cheney secretly led a part of federal shadow government that was involved in creating false flags to manipulate the American people. He was right on that. I don't care if you believe in QAnon or not. He was speaking the truth there. And the last part I just want to say, in another interview posted 2 days later, Savin went further, falsely claiming Cheney led a shadow government that carried out false flag operations, including the 9/11 terrorist attacks, in order to, quote, create a threat to manage the American people to world opinions so that they can help move us towards global control. He cited a CIA contractor who supposedly went into World Trade Center Building 7 to hide all the explosives so that they could bring 7 down in a controlled demolition. So I'm kind of interested on that. I've never heard about a contractor that had supposedly said they went into World Trade Center 7 to hide all the explosives. I'm going to follow that lead. I don't know what to believe on that one, but I don't really care about the guy. I don't care anything about the article. It was just those statements that was said about him that I find to be true. And that's all I had for new 9/11 news. I did want to share just a little bit of this. Sandra had asked Kale to put together a little video from some photos we sent in. And I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I just wanted to share the beginning of it. Kale, you did an awesome job here. Thank you. And hopefully you guys can hear a little bit. We'll play about a minute.
Thank you for...
It's time to strap our boots on. This is the perfect day to rise. Wipe the fog out of our eyes. This life, there's no surrender. There's nothing left for us to do. Find the strength to see this through. The ones who will never be broken. With all of our might, we'll fight for what's right. We are truthers, we are truthers.
Oh, it
Can't hear
sounds-
you. You're muted. You're,
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, I see too much of me, but I love it.
yeah. And Kale, again, thank you very, very much for all your help and for everything you did. And like I said, without that, it wouldn't have happened. So,
Oh, we appreciate you guys trusting us with that. And
well,
hopefully we can do more.
yeah, that would be cool.
So where is that video that people could see it?
Right now it's only on my channel,
Okay.
my YouTube channel. I'll put the link in the chat.
Alrighty. Open the table up to anybody else that has any new 9/11 news that they're aware of.
I actually,
Sorry.
there was a video on a Scud missile being, or a video was released showing a Scud missile, but this was early this morning because I listened to, I don't know if you guys heard of KJ Osborne. He, anyway, he does kind of a news, alternative news clippings, like how you introduce in the morning or at the beginning of your meeting. And he had a clip that this lady shared, and I was gonna try and share it to you before the meeting, but something about a Scud missile being caught on camera and the footage being released. But you know, we never know if it's real or not. But I'm gonna get that to you because I wasn't able to check it out yet.
Okay.
But if anyone's heard about it, you know.
Let me see here. I think I found the news article, but now I hear my alarm going off for 5:20. This must be it. Syrian Scud. No, wait. That's 2012. No, that's not the one. Forget it.
I'll find it. I'll find it and clip it and send it to you.
Alrighty. Anyone else? Al, you were gonna say something, but I'm gonna cut you off probably in a little bit here, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I got a bunch of stuff, but why don't you do your thing first?
All right. Just, let me make my post real quick. Pardon me. It's hard to do this all at the same time. Oh, there it is. Next, tag myself from one of my other profiles. All right. Again, we just take a few seconds a day. I don't care if you're Christian, Muslim, whatever you are, atheist, just a happy noise for 9/11 justice. I'm a Christian, so just taking a couple 10 seconds, 15 seconds here just to say a quick prayer. So if you will, pause for a second with me. Lord, to come to you right now, we thank you so much for all the efforts that everyone continues to do in getting justice for 9/11, everyone that puts their neck out there. Lord, I pray that you would continue to guide our path, encourage us, strengthen us, protect the lawyers committee, Richard Gage and Gail is what they're doing. Everybody's efforts, Lord, that we could expose evil, that we could see justice in our lifetime, and that these truths that we share would resonate with people's in their hearts and minds. And thank you for these things in your name. Amen. Thank you, everybody. All right, Hal, you're up.
Okay. Well, I don't know how many of you follow Scott Ritter. He's the former weapons inspector for the UN in Iraq, but he has his own show now. And it's fascinating stuff. And, you know, some people on this call might not follow this or want to agree with it, but the whole neocon, the criminals in my mind that masterminded 9/11, particularly you know, Kagan and Newland and the rest of them that were part of the project for the New American Century, Newland and Kagan were the ones that actually got involved in the overthrow of the Ukrainian government when the pro-Russian guy was running the country. I can't remember his name, but anyway, long story short, the pipeline, the Nord Stream that got blown up. People, there's a lot of stuff on the internet now about how the US was the one that actually did it. And these people are still in running things, meaning the neocons, and their attempt to, the Ukrainian war is sort of a sidebar to what their whole unipolar world where the US is supreme in getting taking down Russia. But this is, I'm going to segue now into what I really wanted to talk about, which is I see, depending on how this thing shakes out, the whole war, the drumbeat to war, is out of control. And what I'm hoping for and seeing are the anti-war groups getting involved in protesting. And I went online, and there's 63 anti-war groups in the United States. And I see a big opportunity for 9/11 Truth to get really involved with the anti-war people. And I think I mentioned a while ago when we were down at the State House and when they were bombing Syria, there was a big demonstration against any war effort to get involved in Syria. But and we were well received. I mean, I got a lot of signatures on the petition for a new investigation, and we were there with 9/11 Truth for Peace. And I just want to make a plea within the War Room for people that are wondering where we go from here, that we really have an opportunity here to penetrate the anti-war community. And I would love to get people active on that score. And I think this thing is going to be so, it's just, we're on the verge of a nuclear war right now. And, it's like everybody's sort of tied up in other things. And then I don't know how many people are paying attention to what's going on, but it's a big deal. And, I can only hope that we'll have more and more people involved in protesting. And
Well, Al, if I can just jump in and say this. I mean, we keep talking about how do we make 9/11 Truth relevant to the day and age that we're in after 21 years. And this would be the perfect way to make it relevant.
exactly.
And you've touched on this. I mean, anti-war people, from what I understand, tend to come more from the left. And this is a movement, while I still maintain that it's bipartisan, it does seem to lean more right. And it has no reason to lean either way, really. But yeah, if you want to bring in the left, the badly needed left, then I agree with you that that's a really, really good way to go. And we should absolutely reach out to these groups in any which way that makes sense. And we can talk about the details on how to do that. But it's, yeah, I'm with you. I think it's absolutely, and it's our best chance right now to underline how this, was made possible today because of what happened 21 years ago.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And I mean, you can Google anti-war groups on Google and come up with, I counted them up of 63, and they all vary. And, I don't know what the political affiliations are on some of them, but.
And who cares anyway?
Yeah, right. But.
Al, did you say, you said that you went down for 9/11 to Boston and you guys had a sign that said end the occupation, and you found that it was better to take that down because some veterans were taking exception.
Oh,
to
yeah.
what they were doing.
That was 9/11 ends wars of occupation, right? And we had a big, a near fist fight on the bridge a couple of years ago with this veteran who came up and was, livid over the fact that we were accusing, I mean, he had been over in Iraq and, it just really got ugly in a hurry. And
So with that, we could learn that there are better ways, phrases, keywords and tricky phrases to stay away from, and that would be one. And what did you find was a better thing to put up?
well, I mean, we have 9/11 Truth for Peace. I
Yeah.
still have the 9/11 equals control demolition. The lawyers committee, for inquiry, we had a new sign made up for that. And what's some of the others? I've got a couple more. I can't remember right now, but yeah, no, I agree. Wording is everything. And, to try to bring in people and not to insult them somehow.
9/11 Truth, Peace, and Justice
Yes,
would probably be a good recap that would,
right.
focus on the essentials that would resonate at that other end.
I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys have seen that meme that's gone around, and it shows up from the Operation Desert Storm, basically going into Iraq and Afghanistan. We lost about 4,000 troops from those wars, and there were 120,000 suicides. Like, it just eclipses it to an unbelievable amount. And these guys and these ladies and gentlemen that get into this thinking that they're fighting for freedom, and they get in and they see the ugliness of war, and they choose to take their lives over that. I mean, same thing with the Vietnam War. Started over a lie, and it just seems there's got to be a way to connect with veterans. And I agree.
Well,
I would like to.
we've tried Veterans for Peace, and they were kind of cool towards us. But as time goes on, we've reached out to them in the past. And I don't know, we haven't done much, if anything.
And can I ask
Well,
you, Al?
actually, Al, that right now is an excellent opportunity to reach out to the Smedley Butler Brigade, which is the Veterans for Peace in the Boston chapter.
Right,
Because, their head of the realm, I can't remember what his title is, he stepped down and nobody stepped up to the plate. So they're in serious danger of disbanding.
was
Miles-
it Sheehy, or I can't remember the guy's name.
Nate, oh gosh, what's his name? Nate somebody.
It was an
Miles-
Goldslab.
Oh, no, different guy.
Nate Goldslab stepped down. And the last time Boston 9/11 Truth reached out to the Smedley Butler Brigade was when his predecessor, the banjo player, I can't think of his name right now, was at the helm. Pat, darn.
That doesn't really matter, Susan.
Well,
Yeah.
well,
But
Alfred,
Pat Scanlon, yeah, when Pat Scanlon, he was very,
Scanlon, right, yeah.
right, he was very resistant to 9/11 Truth. Nate, not so much so. But I think in the absence, with theirs in danger of being disbanded, that could be an opportunity.
so
Yeah,
But then I guess, sorry, go ahead.
Al's still trying to finish up, but I want to see if Miles, Kale, or Ed's question had to do with anything Alfred was talking about so far. If not, we'll come to you guys when you.
Well, I would add,
Yeah, mine is about.
I do have something I'd like to put forward. And if you, I watched a Channel 4 news item, United Kingdom news channel, and they interview a woman named Fiona Hill. Her title is Senior Director, U.S. National Security Council, 2017 to 2019. Again, Senior Director, U.S. National Security Council. And she's on Channel 4 News being interviewed. And she's saying, yes, the Russians blew up their own pipelines, Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2. And I'm thinking, wow, it just sounds so much like, yes, Osama bin Laden took down the trade towers, within a very short period of time, these people are pointing fingers. And it's even on the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. I listened to a news item where they were saying, oh, those Russians seem to have done this. And this is journalism without any questioning that, oh, could there be anybody else that might do such a thing? So anyhow, I think that relates to Alfred's points.
Yep. Thank you, Miles. Kale?
Yeah, sorry. The veterans, aren't they bound or under contract for speaking out that when they were during their service? Are they allowed to speak out publicly what they did? And
Most
say
of
they
them are
murdered
signing-
a family or a child or something like that, are they allowed to speak out?
Most
Are
are
they
under a non-disclosure.
As a veteran, I can speak to that.
Yeah.
When you're in the military, everything, it has a general classification of general classified, right? But it doesn't mean it's classified necessarily. Depending on your job and your post and what your duties are, there is a level of classification. It could be, I had a secret clearance, but you could have a secret classification, you have, top secret classification or different levels of top secret classifications. That is definitely binding as long as you're in the service. Once you're out of the service, it's still binding as long as it's still classified. But once it's declassified, you can speak about it all you want. A lot of things I was involved in have been declassified. I can talk about things like nuclear surety programs and things like that. There's a lot of things that veterans can talk about, especially if it comes down to known criminal activity that the military was involved in. Those are because at that point they were following what they thought to be lawful orders, and that's something that military personnel are bound to do. But they're not bound. They tell you that in basic training. They're not bound to follow unlawful orders.
What happens if a veteran, like how we become awake to say 9/11, are they allowed to voice, hey, these wars are fraudulent? And I
Absolutely. As long as they're out of the military and they're not speaking on behalf of the United States military, absolutely. They have freedom of speech just like everybody else. As long as it's not dealing with classified information, it's still classified.
I have a question. That's a famous picture of a Marine with a 9/11 truce sign.
Yep,
I think
Johnny
it was
Wave.
that in the video, Al, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the video, yeah.
His
And
name is Johnny.
is that considered, could he have gotten in trouble for doing that, or
Is he in uniform?
he's in
That's right.
uniform, full
Yeah, he could have gotten
Marine?
it. Yes, unless he's out of the service, he's technically, if he's in service and in uniform and holding a sign, he's considered protesting in uniform. That's not allowed.
Yeah.
That's against the
Why-
Uniform Code
why
of Military
is that?
Justice. What's that?
Why is that?
Because it's a violation of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, the military laws that govern the military. There's UCMJ. You're not allowed to protest while in uniform. If he's out of the military and wearing a uniform, then that would be an issue. He would be in trouble for that.
That should change. That should change
unless-
because that's a symbol, a very strong symbol that our youth could, just look at and there's so many,
And
like a photo with 1,000 words, you know what I'm saying?
but unless he's out of the service already, if he's out of the service, then he's not subject to UCMJ anymore.
Well, that's
And if
too
that's
bad.
it, and that's his uniform, he can wear it. But he can't be presenting himself as, in the military. Oh my God, that's right across the street from where I used to work.
But he's an oath
That's-
taker, so we're
that's-
the domestic terrorists. He should be using his uniform, all holding that sign. I mean, that's our opinion.
So
Well,
I was in the Navy
but
nuke.
yeah,
I was in the Navy nuke program, got in, the clearances we had were confidential, secret, top secret. And I got confidential, but before I got my confidential clearance, I found out they were dumping nuclear fuel in the ocean.
Yeah,
I saw
exactly.
legal
Confidential,
separation.
yeah, that's the
So-
general clearance, the general
And
classification. yeah.
anything confidential, you can find in a Tom Clancy book. So it's not.
Yeah,
that you
basically,
can't
yes.
find-
It's basically what you ate that afternoon in the mess hall is considered confidential.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Ed,
Games
Ed,
too.
how do you find out if something's been declassified? Do you get a memo or do you just have to follow it on your
Well,
own?
like for example, when a while ago when when Barksdale Air Force Base lost some nukes, I went on a podcast to discuss the nuclear surety program and how nuclear weapons are secured. But that was and from my understanding was considered classified information. Then I went online and I pulled up all the regs relating to the nuclear security program. So I could find them online. So I went on the podcast and discussed how all the security procedures are with respect to nuclear weapons. So I was able to discuss it while online because that's information.
So it's your own
obviously out there.
responsibility basically to follow up and see what you can and cannot discuss.
Precisely, yeah.
I also
Or
want to say to
contact,
Kale, a
yeah,
lot of people
or
will
contact
consider,
DoD.
a lot of people would consider dressing in your uniform dishonorable to the uniform. So. it's not only
Well,
the-
if you're not in the military
I-
and you wear a uniform, then it's stolen valor. If you're in the military, you wear your
Yes,
uniform.
Different,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It all
And there's
depends. It all depends
people-
on what you're doing. Because there are people who've been in the military who are still like I got friends who are they're still wearing their uniform who were served in Vietnam, but they're doing it because they're doing like services like burying a veteran or performing in some sort of ceremonial duty or something like that. But there's definitely times where you can wear the uniform. It's just a question of how you're doing it and whether or not you're subject.
I guess I could say this as a taxpayer, my money goes into these wars and future wars that my children will be paying into, that we have no clue who we're killing, what we're doing, robbing, stealing, pillaging, I don't know, from lies. I think wearing the uniform while doing that is a dishonor to our country. So I think they should be wearing their uniforms as an oath taker, showing that we're hijacked within our own system. That's my opinion. So
Sure.
A lot of them
sure.
don't. It's the same issue where the firefighters don't want to speak out. You've got your pensions and things to worry about, and they can court martial you. They can make your life a living hell and give you a
Yeah,
dishonorable discharge, and then you don't get your pension.
They're
Yeah, but
bullies.
that Marine must be local because that building, the ABC building, right next to my office I used to work at.
We're gonna go to Ross, and I also want to say Adam Eisenberg, I believe, had said that he had to sign a non-disclosure. So on top of being the rules of military, they can also have you sign other forms and things and keep you shut up. But I'm sorry, I forgot. At first, I got to go to Ed. Ed, whatever you were gonna say.
No, you can take care of everybody else first. I have a question, but you
And
can take
then-
care of everybody else first. You can come to me later.
Al, were you done with your points, or we gotta go back?
Well, I had a couple more. So I
Okay,
don't know, do you want to wait? Or, we want to,
let me ask Ross and Miles. Did what you guys wanted to mention have anything to do with what Al was talking about so far with veterans and wars and going for the anti-war?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Ross.
All right. So I've worked with a lot of the groups out of New York City, the anti-war groups. UNAC is the biggest one I know of that I've worked with. We've worked with. We worked with them as TAP, New York City TAP. And it was a reasonably good experience. However, I will caution everybody, or at least warn everybody on one aspect that also applies to international, pursuing international action on 9/11, and that is that many of these left-leaning types that are in those movements or leftist types, the socialist types, they're actually quite interested in keeping the 9/11 myth, the false story, the official story alive. And that, of course, is because you have these downtrodden, terrorists that managed, to get on a plane with their box cutters and concoct a plan and bring down the two biggest Wall Street symbols, international commerce, American capitalism symbols in the world. So this myth for them And a large part of the international community is something that they wish to preserve. Last thing they wanted is to have that upended and say, oh yeah, the US military and the CIA actually did it and they kept it a secret. No, they want to keep that myth preserved that those downtrodden terrorists took down the largest symbols of capitalism in the world. So that you meet a lot of resistance because of that. So you just kind of have to be aware of that. And
But how does that serve their purpose? Like how do you tie the two things together?
well, socialism, it means that you can defeat capitalism from the underground, from the
okay.
the downtrodden worker
Okay.
and rise up with box cutters and take down your two biggest towers and symbols of capitalism. So it's kind of like a symbolic myth.
Yeah, but what about the human factor? You would think that would matter to them as well.
Well, some of these socialists are not as humanistic as you might think, in my view anyway. Communism and socialism in China, that they like to pretend that they're very humanistic, but even here in the United States, the DSA, Democratic Socialists of America.
Yeah, I have trouble with those terms. I really have, I no longer align with the left. I've abandoned them a long time ago, but this whole socialism, communism thing, because I've lived in Europe for many years, where socialism works perfectly fine, and in many ways 100 times better than in North America, I have a lot of trouble about associating that with this negative, toxic association of that may or may not apply. So yeah, the left.
Yeah, I know. I'm not trying to broad brush socialism with that, but I'm just saying that there are elements within that. Same ones that want to force vaccinations, that want to do the Great Reset. They call themselves socialists leaning. So
well, let's just stick to the Congress, and both the Republicans and the Democrats have voted to continue to aid to Ukraine. They're both pro-war. I mean, and if you follow the story of blowing up the Nord Stream, and how that indicates, they want to continue this war. I mean, it's great for the
Military industrial complex.
Yeah, military industrial complex, exactly. And it's just ironic that there is no noise coming from the anti-war people, and sooner or later, I mean, if we go to war in a big way, meaning the West, which we already have, we've been supplying them with everything but the kitchen sink. And, if they start using NATO troops, the very interesting, if you listen to Jimmy Dore, and he made me laugh, he's putting up stickers on gas stations that say courtesy of NATO as the prices go up. And literally, that's the reason why we're at the pumps paying $4 and $5 a gallon. There's a group called End the Damn Wars. I was trying to find it on the internet, but they had a demonstration in DC based on, getting us out of Ukraine, having nothing to do with it. And the polling for the American population, is definitely in favor of a peace settlement. And it's only because of these high-profile neocons that are pushing us towards, some Armageddon. I think you're going to find within the next few months that this thing's going to shake out one way or the other. But I don't think either right or left is doing anything to stop this march towards war. And so anyway, I mean, that's just what I had discovered. But I love this guy, Scott Ritter. He knows what he's talking about.
Oh, there's some breaking news right now that, here, let me share this. According to about the Nord Stream pipeline, according to a federal agency reported, released by NIST, a new phenomenon known as aquathermal expansion.
Yeah, there you go.
Responsible for the mysterious rapture of the Nord Stream. That's just a joke.
They found a passport, a
Yes,
Russian
a
passport.
Russian
in the
passport was
water.
floating on the water, yeah. Just kidding.
It is suicide and the videos were off.
That was just a play on Sean Slender for those that didn't catch it.
Yeah,
Saying that there's a new
that was-
phenomenon in World Trade Center called thermal expansion.
A great meme was out there with the passport. I thought that was a riot. But anyway, I'm done.
Thank you, Al.
I don't know if Ed and Miles want to weigh in on Al or something else. You do? Okay, then go ahead, because I'll just tack on at the end then. Go ahead, Ed,
Miles, you want to go? Oh, me?
Uh,
or Miles.
No,
Miles,
no,
go
I
ahead.
actually want to bring something to the table with respect to the very first news item that Gene posted. So go ahead and when
Okay,
you get a
all right.
chance, come back to me.
I posted a link in the chat if everyone can take a look at it, if you want to pull it up there, Gene.
Sure.
Yeah, I love the idea of teaming up with the anti-war side of the equation. The only issue I have is that we did this back in the early days when before the Iraq wars, when that was gearing up. So at the peak of the anti-war movement before the Iraq war, and at the peak of the 9/11 Truth movement, when We Are Change LA and all the other folks were at its peak, we had a huge presence at the movement. In fact, it basically went from an anti-war march almost to a 9/11 march. All those big blue those banners you see there were all of ours. So we took it over the
Wow.
whole march basically. You couldn't look anywhere without seeing
Wow.
those banners. And and they were trying to actually move us out of there. They're trying to put us in the back, but it didn't matter. There's a good friend of mine. And so it was we did this already back when both sides were at their peak and when it was at a really good fervor. And we made a really good, there I am actually on the far left there, holding a sign.
You.
Yeah, I think that's me anyway. I could be wrong, but it looks like me. So I'm a lot skinnier now, thank God. But yeah, so there's Bruno. He was a former head, Bruno Breweiler, if you guys don't know him. So my concern is that I don't know what we would do today that would be more effective. You know what I mean? It's like if we still weren't as effective as we would. We still don't have justice, in other words, even to this day, even though we were so present there in the anti-war movement with the peak of We Are Change Los Angeles. So I don't know. And now that everything's depleted so much with the movement and there's no anti-war marches happening currently. There's a lot of the anti-war, as you guys mentioned. There's one of the groups is actually in danger of dissolving. So I don't know what the strategy would be or what the tactic would be with respect to teaming up with those movements when there is no fervor happening to the degree that it happened in the past, and it wasn't successful even back then.
Okay, can I
You see what I'm
can I
getting
just
at?
interject one
Sure.
thing?
Yeah, I want to interject too, so.
Yeah,
Sure.
I just want to make a point of the fact that even though the 9/11 movement may have been at its peak at the time, the world was not ready for it as much back then as it is now. So the benefit of today versus back then is I think people are more open. There's a lot more people who are considering the possibility of 9/11 as a false flag. In 2006 or whenever, earlier 2000s, there was still a lot of resistance to it. So that's what's to our advantage. But you're right, with both movements kind of like being low key now, that does question and that was my question in the end that I wanted to tag on was what would it even look like to reach out to 9/11 and to anti-war groups, because we're talking about reaching out. And yeah, so Ed's question is really important. Like, what would that look like? How would it work? How do you see that, Al?
Well, I see it, with the Ukraine, if NATO starts moving troops in, if it comes down to a face-off, which it already has, of a nuclear war, it's going to get the attention of the whole world, never mind just, in the US. And the anti-war groups will come to life. I mean, they have to. And you're absolutely right that, in 2006, the whole reception to the 9/11 truth movement was barely even tolerated. Now, everybody seems to know about it at least. And I think you'd get a much better, many more people involved. And, for being in Boston, I mean, it would be the first thing that I would want to do is go down and march with these people, because I know I had a positive experience just when they started firing rockets into Syria. And nobody was saying, oh, you guys, get out of here or anything like that. And so I think you're talking a whole different ballgame than back in 06, because I was around in 06 too. And I mean, we were, really facing some stiff opposition. And so to answer Ed's question, I mean, I don't see it the same way, that we would have a problem. And I think we'd get many more people involved just by being there.
I think no matter what, we just keep banging the gong. I don't care.
That's right. Yeah, we're still here and we're not going anywhere.
Now with that said, though, wouldn't it not be wise to adjust the message a little bit? I mean, we got those Operation Encore documents that got declassified recently. And I don't know how many of you have all gone through those documents at all. There's 2,500 some documents, and I think it's vitally important you guys go through those, because it's a very revealing information. And I think it's important because that information in those documents can provide a narrative that is fresh, and a narrative that is documented as far as like something that's real and tangible, something that can't be debated with respect to whether it's subjective or not. And it actually reveals complicity with the United States government, allowing foreign agencies and foreign entities to facilitate the movement of at least two of the hijackers here in the United States. So
I'm sorry,
shows some foreknowledge.
which documents are these? I
It's
missed that.
Operation Encore. It's basically the follow-up to the pent bomb investigation, and
Well,
the
you
FBI declassified these documents very recently. And some of us are going through all those documents right now. There's over 2,500 of them. And so we've been going through them, and I know Adam, I know you like him, but he's been doing video after video, just doing videos on the information he's going through and just updating as he goes through the documents. He continues to do videos on those documents, but it's very revealing information. I think it's important that we kind of adjust our message a bit, because if we don't come at this and come to the people with something new, rather than beating the same dog over and over again,
most people
that?
haven't heard. Got three things. One, most people haven't even heard the things that we've been beating our drum over for 20 years. They just haven't heard the message. Two, I did reach out to James Corbett, and he was going to contact Adam, because James Corbett said after I put out my third part, Adam wanted to respond to it. So James was going to reach back out to Adam. And then third thing I wanted to share was that you had Mick's ear there for a little bit when we started talking about this new legal avenue of going after the cover up. And you said, well, what evidence are you looking for? And you had him listening there. So if you could be a liaison to try to, the middleman there, to try to smooth it and simplify it and get it to them, yeah, I think they would be interested in something like that.
My answer to you, Ed, is we have the lawyers committee. You talk about new. I mean, I'm out there trying to get donations, and that's where I would focus my attention is, with the anti-war people, to get them on board with us, with the lawyers committee. And that is very new. I mean, it's something that's tangible. It's happening as we speak. And you know, people don't have the education that you do, you know, in terms of understanding what you're talking about. You have to dumb it down, and Gene's right. I mean, there's a ton of people out there that don't even know anything about 9/11, but if you move them into the anti-war and it becomes a movement with a lot of people, then we can get donations, we can get, you know, people on board. I mean, it's
Right,
a
but what,
simple, go ahead.
well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But what happens with the message though, when you say move it into the anti-war, what is the message you're moving into? What are you leading with? Because, you know, like I said, people know about Building 7, you know, it's like there's a lot of people don't, but for the most part, that's been the mantra. And it's been now through the courts. It didn't quite go where we planned. We're still trying to look at remedies for that. But there's, again, new information has been coming out for many years and nobody is paying attention to the new information. And it's not a question of dumbing it down because, like I said, Adam, I mean, we presented it and dumped it down quite a bit.
Well, I have to say, Ed, you guys are the worst salesmen I've ever come across. I mean,
well, then maybe, but at the same time, maybe I could say we got the worst buyers, and you're the only ones buying.
well, I don't.
You're the only market. You know, you're it. So it's like if you're not buying it, then I have something
Here,
to
let me
sell.
share this.
That's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
So-
what do you do?
Right now in this poll that we had on last September 11th, 52% of the people were aware that the third tower fell. And that was up from 30-some% years previous. So we're just now getting to 50-50 or becoming aware that there is a World Trade Center 7. And we've beaten this drum, like you said, for 21 years now. So
Right, but what if you get 100? And what's that mean though? What does that number mean? If you get 100%, let's say everybody knows about it.
It
Then
means
what?
money. We're trying to get money.
raise
And
awareness.
does that mean that 52% of the people that said yes gave you guys money?
Well, we're hoping we'll get more funding. That's all I can tell you.
You're gaining an interest. You're getting them invested in it, that they're saying, okay, now I see something's wrong here. And then they might do more.
And who
Become
did
more
you
engaged.
survey with? And who did you survey with this? What kind of crowd did you survey?
Was a national
And
survey
what was
of
the- what-
1,156 American adults reported by the Pulse Opinion Research. We had Richard Ellifritz, who is a PhD in surveys, and I don't know the whole background there. This was a reputable, legit
Okay.
survey.
All right.
So
So what did that? So 52% said yes, 41% said no.
basically, the reason I shared that was to show you that the interest after 20 years, after 15 years, we had like 30%. After 20 years, we found getting 50% of the people understanding that the third tower fell. So just some of us, hang on, everybody is geared to what they like to share and whatever their forte is. What I think Al was trying to say very well was that you guys are on a level that most new baby truthers and new people coming onto the 9/11 truth movement aren't ready for that level. Yes, we do need new information to be able to go after justice, but for the baby truthers, if we just keep beating the drum of the basic information to get people on board to show that there was something wrong, I think that's very viable.
Let me ask you this though. Okay, if you have 52%, if in other words, it's the number of people who are aware of Building 7 increases over time, and we have the 9/11 truth movement's interest is depleting over time, what does that tell you? Because we're getting weaker and weaker as time goes on, believe it or not.
I don't agree with that, but go ahead.
Oh, I 1,000% agree with that.
Well,
That
that's
is,
great.
I have been watching it and carefully watching it. You got more, we are changes are depleted. I mean, we have no more We Are Change Los Angeles. We got more, it's like the power of the WACLA groups have been pretty much decimated. We have no more real, there's no more real activism going on. Mainly because there's been, we've done it to death. And it's like, there's no.
I mean, come on. I mean, you never had
Look,
the
I'm a
lawyers committee. You never had, you know, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. All you have to do is listen to what Mick has to say, for
Oh, I
instance.
have listened to Mick, but about what I'm saying is though, with the respect to like, with respect to, again, you can push on a wall all day long, but unless you move that wall, you haven't done any work. You may sweating your ass off, but you haven't done any work.
Well,
And
think
you've
there's
got to
two
move the
things.
wall.
There's two things. There's raising awareness and getting justice. I'm
And we did the
oversimplifying
awareness
this
raising.
grossly. No, you did it, but it doesn't end. That's a gong that never stops being beat. You just keep doing that over and over. Us in Pittsburgh, like the construction industry in Pittsburgh delays a year after everywhere else in the United States. News comes across to these suburbs long after when they do the hit the big cities.
Sure.
There's a reverberation that happens, and I think for the basics, for the minor thing, the essential things, we just keep repeating the same message, and it's just going to continue to go on.
well, in sales,
But
it's the KISS message. Keep it simple, stupid.
right, but my point is this, and I want to make sure we're all very realistic about what we're doing. Is that, and I nobody's going to sit there and convince me that the narrative and truth movement is growing. It's not. If it's maybe doing this, but from 2006, et cetera, it's been doing a steady decline.
The
All
message.
right, so it had a peak. It had a peak, and it's not going to peak
Well,
again. Okay, so here's my point. Here's my
You're
point.
too
Here's my
negative,
point.
Ed, really.
Well, here's my point. No, I'm trying to be helpful here because I want people to understand they got to be realistic. Okay, and they have to be. Otherwise, you're going to be beating that drum until the day you guys die, and then nothing's going to happen after you guys die because there's not going to be anybody else doing it.
Well, as
So
an
my point is,
example,
but-
the Papa, we penetrated into the firefighting community, which is one of the hardest sells there is. And those guys are coming around to what we're doing. I just find it a whole lot easier than it ever was to get that message out. And
Well, that's fine, but the problem is, what is the result of the message?
going to court.
What is the result
one.
of what is the result what is the end result? Because you're now lost it in the
Well,
courts.
I disagree. That we have the lawsuits. We have,
You have a few. You have a few. You have a few lawsuits.
Slew of things that are very positive in the 9/11 movement. And
I think that's I respect that, but I don't think it's an accurate depiction. I think it's blind hope. But I think it could be better. I think it could be. I think it
we're not
could
gonna
be
do the
better.
pessimism, Ed. We're not gonna do the pessimism.
I'm not being pessimistic. I'm being realistic.
No, I don't think you're being realistic. But
No, I am.
we're not gonna argue
we
about that.
We
So-
can't sit here and be all kumbaya all the time. We got to be realistic about some of this stuff.
So we've made inroads with the National Fire Protection Association, Raul Angulo. This is new ground that, like Al's right, it's breaking ground. We're going to go to the Supreme Court, most probably. The board of directors for the lawyers committee is voting on that on the 5th. There's things that are moving, and I don't want to hear shit talking on anything. So
Oh no, I'm not shit talking. I want to make it very
Yeah.
clear.
okay,
Well, Ed,
It's
as
very
another-
important. Hold on. It's very important that we be realistic about some of this stuff. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
I am too.
Just-
all right,
Um,
Miles, you're up. I'm going.
Hold
to
on, I just
Miles.
want to say this. I think that maybe there's I think that what Ed is saying is just there's not this groundswell kind of like movement type of feeling about now versus what it was before. And he
Right.
did acknowledge that there are certain initiatives that are happening and that are critical on their own, just like Papa, just like certain things. But that as a global
Yes.
movement, that maybe we're not where we were back 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah,
And I think that's
2006 was certainly the high point in the 9/11 truth movement. You can see it right here. 9/11 truth.
What does that
2006.
mean, on the high point? What was it? Membership, or what are we talking here?
Just the
That was-
amount of awareness and talk and discussion.
Well, who determined that?
So
I don't think the awareness was even close to what it is today.
Agree, Al.
okay, so with Google Trends, this is just one
Agreed, buddy.
way to look at it. People used the search term 9/11 truth by far the most back in 2006. and they use it every year on 9/11, decreasing through the years. And it just, that high point at 9/11 every year just starts going a little bit down each more. So as far as
That
people
tells me
search,
that more and more people know about it. And-
I hear
and-
you.
yeah.
Added cumulatively, yes, more people are knowing about it. But
And
as far as,
there's less involvement. Figure that one out.
Right. Right,
Yeah.
people are more and more disconnected from it. Let's just say
Yes.
that.
but we
People are
are,
more and more disconnected from everything.
That's true too.
No, I disagree with that.
No, since COVID, they think that they can just do everything online. And
Yeah, but that's
when
where a
was
lot
the
of the
last
9/11 truth
time
is going on.
we saw stand out about anything?
there's a lot of hands up and I got to get to them.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's my piece.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate it. He doesn't sugarcoat things. We'll give him that. Miles, you're up.
Yeah, can you pop up the first news item that you had, which was about firefighter Triptree? Was that his name, who passed
Yes.
away
Yep,
from
and
respiratory disease of some sort, asbestosis?
I didn't see what it was, but yeah.
What I wanted to, it took me back in my career as a project manager. And back in 1988, I was involved in supervising the removal of steam pipes. And these steam pipes had asbestos insulation on them. And it was only about maybe 300, 400 feet of steam pipes, 4-inch pipe with an inch or so of asbestos pipe insulation. And to remove that insulation required the workers to be wearing 3M N100 masks. They had to wear disposable coveralls. They had to be fit tested on those 3M masks to make sure they were properly fitting, had to be clean shaven, no whiskers. The entire work area had to be shrouded in plastic and a negative air pressure maintained. So air was not being pushed out of the workspace, but actually air was being put into it. So in other words, you're not going to have asbestos fibers releasing. Now, on 9/11, you see in the video that we watched, and it's really impacted me when I saw the banner 9/11, what you don't know is killing you. Well, all of these people who were involved in the cleanup and the citizens of New York were exposed to materials, respiratory hazards, which I knew back in 1988 required very special measures for cleanup and toxic. So they came out and high level official said, oh, don't worry, New York, your air quality is not affected seriously. And yet it was. Now, why did they do that? Well, we can speculate, but certainly if they were to recognize that this was laden with asbestos, they would have had to analyze it more carefully. They would have had to take all these measures that I just described, which were required on a very simple project. And by the way, the waste had to be double bagged and labeled asbestos. So you can imagine that if they acknowledged that there was how many tons of asbestos in the air, that would have triggered a whole bunch of questions as to what the hazards are, what is in this dust. We would have probably had it revealed that there's also these microspheres. Anyway, I'm just wondering for the group, how how much of an inquiry is anyone aware of with respect to the this whole line of inquiry of the air quality, the asbestos, who knew what, when? And I might just add that it does take 20 years for people to die of these illnesses. And I'm wondering how many people who have been affected are aware of what the Lawyers Committee for 9/11 Inquiry is doing, and do we have an outreach program to these people? Because this, if we don't, that would be a whole other line of audience to pursue.
I think you were alluding to the lawyers committees talking about filing a lawsuit about the air quality.
Okay, so forgive me, I'm kind of new to all of this insofar as not having maybe taken all the, I'm pretty sure I haven't taken as much time as you guys have and gals. So anyway, just
It's my
putting
fault,
that
Howard.
on the table because that's
Yep.
what triggered in my memory,
That's
you know,
definitely
from my
another
personal
avenue.
experience.
That's another avenue that they are looking into. I don't know where that's going. I can't. Sandra, can you remember any more of that? Can anybody else? I can't either. I just know that they had mentioned that they were gonna looking into litigation for
Yeah,
air quality.
yeah, it was one leg, yeah.
That's
What's
the other
playing
thing
right
we're up
now,
to.
if no one's ever seen this clip from Corbett, he did a great series called the 9/11 Suspects, and he did one on Christine Todd Whitman. If you haven't seen this, it's 12 minutes long.
Right, I've seen some of those clips. Now, one of the things I guess we're up against, and you know, as Ed was saying, we do need to be realistic. And unfortunately, I wasn't within internet when the Lawyers Committee had that open house last weekend, I guess it was, where they were asking for ideas. I wasn't available, but I suppose one of the things that does strike me as with respect to Ed's statement about being realistic is that during the 9/11 series on this past date, the lawyer Sheenan, is that his name?
Danny Sheehan.
Sheehan.
Yes, he was talking about the need to be very realistic as well, and saying, you know, he was kind of I guess the party pooper, but he was saying, you know, we got to raise the money. We've got to get millions of dollars
Well,
happening.
Danny Sheehan. So I
to
think I could mention
do
this.
investigations.
There's a there's a discussion within the lawyers committee on whether they should go to the Supreme Court or not over the grand jury, or whether they should just focus their attention on litigation that everybody wants, and that's to go after the whodunits. And Danny Sheehan is behind that. He's saying realistically, to do that, you're going to need a legal team. And I threw this out there. I've heard that cost estimated. I've heard it said that it was $10 million that they were looking at to be able to assemble this team. When you look at all the other Silkwood case and anything else, the Pentagon Papers case and all those cases in the back, realistically, this is what you would need. And Danny thinks that's where the focus should be. Others in the lawyers committee don't. So
I wonder how many people who have been impacted by the respiratory hazards of the asbestos have accepted payment or compensation, and then they have to sign a non-disclosure agreement such that, okay, you took the money, now you can't talk about it. So, you know, that's basically an unfortunate roadblock, possibly. You know, even if we did outreach to families of victims of the respiratory hazard, have they been compensated by these billions of dollars that, for example, your second piece talked about 4.7 billion to 9/11 victims? Does that include people of the city of New York and the first responders?
But how do we know who they even are and who to reach out to? I mean, it's not like they have, groups on on the internet, like the anti-war groups, for example. So it would be extremely difficult to do that, I
Okay.
think.
Thank you, Miles. Gonna go on to
Thank you.
Kale and then Ray, and then Susan, then Joseph. Or Joseph.
Real quick, I'm sorry. There's a movie called Worth. If anybody's seen it, it deals exactly with the topic that Miles is dealing with.
A movie
What's
called
it
what?
called?
It's called Worth. It's on Netflix, I think. It's deals with that 4.7 billion, how it was distributed and all that stuff.
Thank you. Kale, you're up.
Yeah, from a realistic point of view, from a father of two, raising children in this world today is nothing like any of our parents ever could even fathom. I want to go back to, I don't know if it was Susan, but someone mentioned COVID throwing us into the internet. And majority of people now are stuck in their little bubbles in their home.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. It's the news or now our news feeds on our social media, which is number one to get into our brains, especially our youth. I think Richard and Gail are on the right track. Riding the wave with COVID has woken up so many people. It's not even funny. And it's opened up so many more minds to things like 9/11, to say, I don't know, Pearl Harbor, JFK, but more 9/11 than anything that we've experienced before in this whole movement. Just because we don't see people in the thousands in the street anymore doesn't mean the movement has moved into a virtual march, and it is, and it's growing. So, there's a saying, the cynic is the tyrant's best friend, and that was from Ken O'Keefe, who they took out mentally. But that's the truth, man. The cynic is the tyrant's best friend. If we sit here and we say, oh, there's nothing I can do about it, it's just me, little old me. It's through our youth. I can sit here and I homeschool my children. I'm on 3 years now. That's the silver lining of COVID. And we're going to move forward with that because there's so much bullshit in the public schooling. It's disgusting, really, what they're trying to do, groom our children as well. But from a father's point of view, I can't tell my son, hey, or daughter, you can be president of the United States. I'd be lying to them.
Hey, Daryl?
Our presidents are nothing but puppets to a global order, a global cabal, however you want to label it. The money runs our world. The central bankers, the central globalist families and bloodlines. It's all about bloodlines and who what door is open for them. It's a network of cowards, and they shut us all down. I can't tell my child he can be a doctor, because look what happened with COVID. Forced medical procedures. What happened to our rights? What goes into our body anymore? They twist your arms and say that it's a choice. Okay, can't go see grandma till you get jabbed. It's bullshit where we're at, and nobody is mentioning a new world order and their great reset bullshit. Why? They're false flagging it in left and right. It doesn't matter. False flags have been with us from past to present, and they're lying in their little global reset. It's all in our face, but we're not talking about it. We're talking about left, right, war here, Russia, China, US. We're all play like pawns. We are the pieces, and they play us against each other. So I got to teach my kids, I got to deprogram my kids from this bullshit. We're not going to get anywhere if we don't. How many times have we been told this global reset, they're looking for a global government? How many times in the media has it been past to present, we've been warned what's happening, but we're not addressing it. It's crazy. So I'm just saying, it's Oz, and the little guy behind the curtain is pulling all the strings, and we're just sitting here. Even a reinvestigation will help bring it into the light. Whether we win it or not, that'll help bring it more into the light. That's, I'm positive on that one. But again, following government declassified information is it's BS to us, because we wouldn't be in this spot if it wasn't for the government hiding the records from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? So whatever they declassify now, you know, asking for millions of dollars fight, asking for millions of dollars in this fight is like talking to the central globalist bankers. Hey, daddy, can you help us? They know that they're keeping us in the legal hamster wheel. So we're just spinning our wheel. And that's the reality. That's being realistic. You know, so I don't know. Cynicism, man. Tired.
And I just got to sum it up that we are a large 9/11 truth group movement. We're the 9/11 truth movement, and no movement has been independent or be able to deal with infighting. And everybody, what Sandra and I have seen in the years that we've been getting into this, that everybody wants to do it their way. And I have no problem with that. You lead how your heart deems you to lead it and go with it. And each of us are going to do it our own way and doing what our strengths are. And I think that's in the end, we're going to be good. We're the better for it. I just wanted to share a quick picture, Ernie Sally on Facebook. This is on the low end now, but you were saying about getting out to the young kids. He went out and printed out the stickers, and he went to his local skate park, and he shared these stickers that I give out, 9/11 equals what the fuck squared with Einstein picture. And the kids took all the stickers and they're sticking on their bikes now. And it just gets them talking about it. It's just raising awareness on the low end now. This isn't declassifying documents or anything, but it's raising awareness on one level. And everybody needs to do it their own way. Thank you, Kale.
Yeah, we're growing. I don't care what people say, we're growing. That's Richard and Gail are setting a precedent. They're inspiring others. Some people like to go bridge the gap, and Richard Gage want to bridge different topics. Other people don't, and I respect both of them. Or however you want to do it the way that you think. I don't disrespect the other side that doesn't, but it's very important. And more people are more aware because of COVID. Sorry.
Yep.
I'd like to chime in that, the $10 million is a challenge, but every challenge is an opportunity. And I'm not in the loop, I guess, because we were on vacation out on Vancouver Island, and we went into a little surf shop there, and I didn't realize stickers are the big thing. They have a big counter for you can buy all kinds of stickers, and they're not cheap. So, maybe what you got to do with your stickers is charge, a fee for that sticker, because we've got to get that $10 million, and it might be easier than we think. We're just maybe not using that as a metric. But if you can tell people exactly what it is your goal is, and you're clear on it, and if it's a dollar figure, they may say, yeah, okay, here's $5. I'll buy that sticker from you, because that's what they're charging for these stickers. And another thing is, like, there's all sorts of different fundraisers happening. So one of the things that these young YouTubers are using is Buy Me a Coffee. And I just looked up this young guy and sort of feel sympathy for him. He's a draft dodger fleeing Russia, and he's now in Uzbekistan or something. He's Russian, but he does his YouTube channel in English. And
Miles,
he's only got 2,000 followers, and he's asking people, buy me a coffee. You go on to his Buy Me a Coffee, he's already got $3,500 in short order just by using this Buy Me a Coffee. It does charge you $3. The donor does have to pay $3 to buy a cup of coffee. So anyway, I'm ranting, and thank you very much.
Yep, it's going to be difficult. We got 43,000 people in the 9/11 Truth Movement Facebook group, and we can't get 100 of them to commit to anything and donating to the Lawyers Committee or whatnot. So there is a hurdle there, but yeah, I got a lot of hands up again. I got to get through these. Kale, and then Ray, and then Susan and Joseph. It doesn't seem like I'm getting any closer to Joseph here. Ray.
Sorry,
Ray, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I was looking at your video channel, YouTube channel, and it was a few Zoom meetings are missing there. Is that, could it be?
Yeah, I did a terrible job in uploading them for like 2 months. So
Okay, but
I'm back
are
on
they
it.
are they going to be uploaded soon? Maybe.
I could. I'll slowly start going back through it. I got the last two, and we'll start. I'm back up to date, or at least recent. The last two Zoom calls.
Okay, but you're gonna the one before the two before that one. Are you gonna post them too?
I will start doing that. Yes. Sir.
Okay, thank
I
you.
think, I
Thank
think
you.
you're missing 4 in all. It's not 2 months, it's 4 of
Oh,
them.
okay.
Wow, that's
All right.
really backup.
Thank
And
you.
I was the last time we had it. I was mentioning the shrapnel in the tree, so I made a collage that everybody can see this. They can download it, but it's I posted in the comments. It's a collage I made of where this piece is at the Pentagon. This piece of metal sticking in the tree.
Did you send it to Barbara? Because Barbara wanted to see it.
Yeah, but I made a collage here.
She wanted also to see pictures taken back further from that one in whatever other country you had, but I didn't see it.
No, but I posted one in the, yeah. I made a collage, you see the man standing
Oh,
there
nice.
with
Okay, that's
the
good.
paper bag and you see it above his helmet to the right. You see this
So let
piece
me
of
give some
metal.
context for those that don't know. David Cole, former researcher with the Lawyers Committee, is now independent. Wonderful guy, amazing. I don't think there's a researcher in the 9/11 Truth Movement that could eclipse David Cole.
Yeah.
And
But
he
it's-
shared this
it's
photo a long
very-
time ago of a.
Could you full screen that, please?
Sure. It might
you.
be your computer, 'cause I think I am full screen. If
Yeah, it
it's
is full screen
if
here.
it's not on your screen in the upper right hand corner for Zoom, there's an option, I think, something about, there's a drop down up on the top right, I think, that says actual size or.
Yeah, but it kind of gives a picture where the location is of this piece in this tree.
So there's a piece of metal, it looks to be steel.
Yeah.
That is embedded in the tree, outside of the Pentagon.
Yeah. And I was looking for pieces of metal which have this kind of appearance, and that's the second picture I posted.
Great, let me get there, hang on. Can't find my chat button. Chat. Screenshot. Downloading. Thing. Oh,
And this is a piece of ammunition. It's photographed here, and you see the
That's-
kind of the similarities in the
yeah, but that's
with the metal,
speculation.
but it's also this the how it's torn apart and how it's bent in certain directions. And there's a sort of the kind of when you see the piece in a tree, you kind of had this that it comes from a cylinder. It's not a flat piece. It was bent in some kind of way before it was jammed in the tree. But there's a lot of force needed
That's,
to penetrate the tree. But it's really looking at pictures from war zones, and you see a lot of these things of shrapnel stuck into
Yeah.
trees and these kind of things. So it reminds me of this, and it's really fascinating to, you know, these are really minute details in the whole picture of 9/11, but they give an amount of force that is necessary to eject that piece into that tree. And that's the thing. It's not known by, and it's there's no focus on how much energy was necessary to eject it into the tree. But then I posted another picture, and it gives also a lot of idea about what happened there at the amount of energy release at that moment of the attack. And this is piece of limestone on the highway, it's Route 27. Yeah, and I made a collage also where you can see it's to the north of the Pentagon. And you see the police car, and you see the highway signs above the highway, and they give a picture about how far this was from the Pentagon in relation to where something happened at the Pentagon. But this is limestone, and this is not a small piece of limestone. It's kind of massive fragment of limestone which was ejected so far from the building. So what happened at the Pentagon must have been very powerful for it to be eject limestone this far, but also to eject this metal piece in the tree.
Yep.
And that's a thing that a lot of energy was released at a very short moment of time. And that's a thing. If you look at the Pentagon also behind the tree, you can see the wall is pushed out. You see the wall with the guy standing there with the tree. You see the wall behind the tree. There's no bricks. You see the metal of the buildings, the reinforcement which was put in the interior of the building. So there's a lot of power of pressure. It was inside this building to explode things outward, and that's the thing with the Pentagon is this massive amount of energy what was happening there. And if you say it was only a plane, you're missing something. There's something missing in the story. It was only a plane.
I got to move on. Thank
you.
Yeah,
but I just wanted to mention these things, that we are in a movement which a lot of details are not known, and we are in a movement where the government did not give us all the facts.
Yep.
So we have to use our own eyes and our own, because when you talk about keeping it realistic, it's looking at that day. It's looking with your own eyes, but re-investigate it yourself. 9/11 is, we're not going to have an investigation by anybody. We have to do it. It's the thing that we have to do.
Thank you, Ray.
Yes.
Joseph, you're up finally.
Finally, as far as I'm concerned, this may not be the situation with everybody else by the time I say what I've been holding. But I'll try to be brief and first of all, give you an idea.
Can you just unshare the screen, Gene,
Oh,
please?
yep, sorry. Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Honest lady, it wasn't me. My mother was a judge, a magistrate here in Anchorage. They had the earthquake and I came up in '64 after work on computers with Ramo Woolridge to just work on the earthquake and what could be done and leave in a year. I got into the court system as an expert witness in my field, thanks to my mother recommending me to the public defender. I was qualified in '65 in federal court as an expert in photography and portrait sculpture. I'm the sculptor of Howard Hughes, and there's other things. I'm not trying to brag to you. I'm trying to point out that I am very specific. I am courtroom educated. And when the judge said in that case to the jury, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Princiota has been qualified as an expert witness. This means you can consider his opinion as fact. I fell in love with that. And so I have made a career of assisting attorneys in courtroom cases in proving to the jury the position that they want the jury to accept. I do jury selection. I teach attorneys qualified legal education hours. The Bar Association of Anchorage, in conjunction, because we work with the Bar Association of California, has qualified me because of my history and recommendations. So when I tell you what I'm telling you, it's very biased, and I'm not assuming that you should adopt any of it. I'm just giving you my observations because this is what I used to do with the attorney. The attorney would maybe be defending a criminal. I did a lot of criminal defense cases and wrongful death cases. By the way, wrongful death. Vincent Princiota was a 39-year-old firefighter in the South Tower. And Sal Joseph Princiota of another ladder company came to the pile, worked the pile, and died as a result partially of his illness, which brought him to Arizona, and then he was murdered in a robbery. We have been asking questions about 9/11 since the beginning, and I've talked with groups and listened to groups since the beginning. And you are a wonderful group, and you are a mixture. I am not. I want the jury to convict, and I try to separate defining the problem, which we all do on all of these meetings over and over. We define the problem again, instead of focus on what is the real goal. What is the objective in pasting a sticker? I don't care what you get for the sticker. What is the real objective? How will we know when we've won is the first question I ask. The second question I ask is, how much is enough? Because you keep pushing. And most of the time, because we are so convinced, we push the end of the case at the beginning. We push the convictions in our opening statement. We haven't even offered a single element of evidence to most of the individuals to whom we are pushing the conviction. We're building the gallows and asking them for nails, and they don't know what the hell we're talking about. Why? Because you must bring a jury to your position from their position, however bizarre it may seem. And we try to get a good jury, but jury selection is not what we do. We do jury rejection. Thank you very much. We don't want you. And that's the best we can do to get an audience. Then we start where they are to bring them where we need to come. And it's different with each group. So you must know your audience. And when you try to teach firefighters that they were fucked, you are ripping into the brotherhood of firefighters. They live together, they work together, they cook for each other, they sleep with each other. And some of them believe 9/11 and some of them don't. And that's why they shut up about 9/11, because the truth of it would rip the fire department apart. So you can't push to the fire department and get the kind of resources that you want. So what I say every time I see the firefighter, any firefighter, I go, hey, don't worry, steel reinforced buildings don't fall down on their own. Bye-bye. He can be angry at me, not at his brother firefighter that I'm trying to convince of it, and I've done my piece. I used to hold meetings every week. I used to do what I can. But let's talk about, just for a moment, the Gulf of Tonkin. How do we know it's a lie? We know it's a lie because two senators, Senator Morris and Senator Greening of Alaska in '68, I worked on the campaign. We had a write-in, a big write-in campaign because the Democrats abandoned him. But we had somebody in Congress, this is the focus, somebody who can risk it, who will constantly remind them, yes, it's just Bernie Sanders talking about his values, but someone like him, and that was Ernest Greening and Wayne Morris. They risked it, they were pinkos, but they started a real movement to the truth, even to the point where, you know, we've heard some of the horrors. The 58,000 of my generation, I got in and got out, luckily. James Corbett interviewed me in 2009. And has been an on and off communicating friend since then. And it's wonderful to see what's happened with his career. We need money. I have a concept. I sent my email to Alfred, and we're going to talk about it because it's a little bit complicated. I have a design that would appeal to an extremely broader group than the 9/11 attorneys could. And they could, from that, I think, get some money that might be substantial. As I say, I'm biased, and I hope you'll understand that I'm also extremely detail-oriented. So don't be offended by this rather cursed presentation. Thanks for the time.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. And I wanted to share, as I understand it, Joseph, these are your cousins. This would be Vincent.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you, because I don't usually put up pictures, but thank you. Yes, he was a surfer.
And then Sal is on the right. I guess he was also a bodybuilding champ.
And he was a bodybuilder too. Yeah, we got, yeah. Yeah, there, see? Yeah.
Well, these are your cousins.
Distant cousins. I'm just, this is why I've been alerted. I'm not looking for sympathy. And when people tell me, I have a tradition, when somebody tells me somebody in their life died, my first statement to them is never, "Oh, I'm sorry." When they tell me somebody important in their life died, I say, "Oh, I'll bet you have some wonderful memories." And I put them as soon as I can into that, because everybody starts the conversation with, "I'm sorry." Don't be sorry about these guys.
Yep.
They were terrific.
Yep.
And they were at a distance. I was up in Alaska, for goodness. I was born in Brooklyn in 1940. I'm in my 83rd year.
God bless you.
But because of the connection and because of court, I kept feeding back into the group and said, "Hey, what about," even with Richard Gage, Richard and I went to Japan in 2009. He went elsewhere, but my part was Japan. And I tried to say to him then how important getting the idea into court, into some kind of review that takes the evidence and gives it numbers and reference and all of that. And I'm glad to see the Lawyers Committee. I joined back in, looking in just a couple of weeks ago, and I haven't been active for a long time. I wanted to see what was happening, and I discovered you. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate what you said there. I'm gonna have to listen to that again, because there was there were some good points in there. Thank you.
I'm here.
Ed, you're up.
Yeah, with respect to raising $10 million, I'm really looking forward to hearing Joseph's what he has to say about some fundraising. But if someone were to set up a fundraising sort of like a fundraising site, where you mentioned you had 43,000 members on the Facebook page. So let's take that number for example. If you were to set up a website that is basically a legal defense fund through the Lawyers Committee or whatever committee you want to set up, each I think it's like $232 per 43,000 Facebook members, $232 per person. That would come out to, if you were to set up a site that would provide some reason for people to go to it and subscribe to it, you're looking at $10 a month for a period of 2 years, and for 43,000 members. So if you get 43,000 subscribers, $10 a month subscription, where they can come to it and get real good information, and you can start to actually raise money and reach your $10 million goal within 2 years. Now the issue is, now the good news is you wouldn't have to raise all 10 million in order to begin doing the job of providing all the legal legal legwork that's necessary, because as subscriptions come in and as pay comes in, you simply pay it as you go. However you got to do it. Now the money gets raised at the end of 2 years, you get your 10 million. So 43,000 people comes out to about $232 per person for over a 2 year period. So it's doable. It's just a question of what information are you going to, what information is going to bring people to that site, and it's got to be new, and it's got to be something you can't find anywhere else necessarily. That's why I'm very adamant about I hate to say it, a lot of Adam's work and Nelson's work, because that's the stuff that is new and fresh, and people can learn from it, and that can actually drive traffic, and actually people can look things up and see the analysis of the information. And so we got to figure out how to build those bridges. Just FYI.
I hear you. Thank you for that. There's a world of difference between Adam's presentation, James Corbett's presentation on the same material, which is polished a little bit better and easier to watch, and then presentations by Richard Gage. Like, Richard is the face guy. He makes it light, easy to hear, engaging. There's something with deliveries that just
But the
anyways,
information's got to, but it's the information that's important too.
Hey,
You gotta
definitely, I
remember
hear you. Yeah.
Because some of that Corbett
Tricky.
stuff's not 100% accurate. Some of the Gage stuff's not 100% accurate. And I know Adam works very, very hard to make sure his stuff is accurate. I know he does. He's always double, triple checking his work. And so it's the quality of the information is what's important.
Yep. Thank you.
Because he goes to the source of the information too. He goes right to the heart of the sources.
Miles, you got something, and then I'm gonna start going around the horn for everybody to wrap this up.
Yeah, just something quick. So we need $10 million, and I've brought up 5 websites, including your WarRoom, the Lawyers Committee site, PAPA, AE 9/11, Truth Engineer, Architects and Engineers, Lawyers Committee. Everybody asks for donations, but nobody has a store. Like, where can I buy your shirt?
Yeah.
Where can I buy these stickers? Where can we got to get Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley in on this of KISS. They'll sell you a coffin with KISS branding.
Yeah.
If we had the creative thoughts, every one of these websites should have a store so I can buy junk, because I don't know, I'm kind of selfish. I kind of want something tangible as opposed to a donation. I do donate here and there, and to LC 9/11, for example, but anyway, and to Richard Gage. But I don't know, we all like to get a little something, right?
Yep.
In
I hear
return.
you. Totally hear you.
Thanks.
Thank you. I said this before, I'll say it again, and I don't care if one of you runs with the idea, but I would really love to see somebody create a company called the 9/11 Truth Movement Incorporated and sell all the stickers, all the shirts, all the materials, all the pamphlets, papers, court findings, just everything. Put it all, get copies of the 9/11 Commission report, just everything. Have it all there in a store that people could go. And when you will get the ear beating. Oh, you're trying to make money off of the 9/11. Well, yeah, we are, but all the money would be going backing into getting justice for 9/11. So I wouldn't feel
That'd be
guilty about that
great.
at all.
Action
all the
figures.
I've got the firefighters gave me their original design for their t-shirts. Says, Gene, we're not looking for making money. Paul and Eric Lawyer, we're not looking to make money. We just want to bring attention to calling out Bravo 7. Like, we just want to raise awareness, and I think that's a great idea. So we continue to pursue that. Joseph.
Just jumping in, that's a very important part of what I'm trying to think about here to raise money, is to not be pushing 9/11 truth, be pushing a much broader audience, a different item, and taking the profit from that.
Okay.
That's and I wrote everybody, if you want to, I've been isolated since the beginning of the pandemic. I keep 2 Zoom calls going every day, in that they're open if you want to jump in. Now you have the 2 links. They're different links, and that was part of the evolution. So there's a link for noon Alaska time, a link for 6 p.m. Alaska time, any day of the week, every day. And that's where I have some PowerPoints to show you and share, or listen to your stuff, because it's an open call. Thank you. Everybody got it in chat.
Excellent. Thank you.
I'm looking at a picture from Lawrence. Is everybody seeing this?
Oh, yes.
I don't know what I'm not looking at the people talking. I'm looking at the picture from Lawrence.
What is that?
I don't know.
Lawrence is sharing something.
Yeah. Maybe he can talk about it.
Is it a nuclear device?
Looks like it's runs on
I
magnets.
can't find my unmute. Let me drop this for a second so I can find my unmute button.
Yeah.
So you are unmuted.
I use my.
We can hear you, Lawrence.
Okay, yeah, you can hear me. You were talking about that cylindrical shrapnel in the tree, Ray?
Okay, I just saw the picture. I was listening to somebody and just saw the picture. And I was.
Put this up there because I noticed
Yeah,
your
but
picture.
maybe, yeah, but it was kind of strange that the picture came before you were talking.
I couldn't unmute with the picture up.
Okay.
And by
But
So
pressing
this is,
please explain, maybe.
so
Well, I
Ray,
just put this up because you had mentioned the shrapnel.
Okay, yeah.
I'd seen that picture in the past, and since it's part of the conversation now, I figured I'd post a picture of the rocket motor of a solid fuel, an air-to-ground missile. This is the AGM-65.
Okay. It's interesting.
thank you.
Yes.
I was assigned by RCA to the stacked microwave communications links. My first job in Alaska when I first got here for the first year. And we had the Nike missiles, which also didn't need to be fueled, just go with, I think, radioactive warheads on heads on them.
All right, thank you. Kale, you got something also before I wrap this up?
Yeah, I was just wanted to ask Ed, you're saying Richard Gage is not 100% accurate and a few others.
You want to do this now?
Are you and Adam 100% accurate to follow?
Well, it depends on what you're referring to.
Anything? What are you referring to? The say example of Richard Gage.
Oh,
I'm
like,
just
well,
wondering-
we did a whole video when he was discussing things about on that valuetainment interview he did. There was a
Okay.
whole video we did correcting a lot of the things that have already been dealt with for a long time.
Would you
So he,
consider your Adam's 100% accurate? That's my question.
well, it depends on what you're referring to.
Yeah, we're just gonna end fight here. I'm not gonna go here. Around the
I don't know.
room. Thank
About
you.
being
I hear that
I mean,
wasn't really.
we can take it offline if you want, and you can ask me.
Yeah, we're not gonna do this right now, guys. I appreciate it. I understand. I don't want any more infighting. I'm tired of it right now. So around the room, start at the bottom. Betty Smith, anything for the group? 30 seconds. Betty, if you can hear me, thank you for being here. I think you're new. Basically, we're just the end of the show. We just give everybody 30 seconds or so just to share something to the group if they have anything. Do you have anything, Betty?
I may
Not
have
hearing
stepped away.
anything. Lawrence, you got anything for the group? Say signing off.
Just that I put in a link to the AGM-65 demo, the military.com demonstration of the AGM-65 in the chat, so you'd be able to get familiar with what they're capable of.
Sure. That's there for everybody to get to. I'll try to share this chat in the YouTube description if I can.
Well,
You guys still have those.
then let me write it up and I'll send it to you because I have the chat copied
Okay,
and
Right there, Dingo.
thank you.
I can send you a recap of the call before you put up the video.
Yep. Sean, anything for the group, brother? Thank you for being here.
No, Cal, that was a cool video you did. And yep, thanks.
Thank you, brother.
Miles, anything?
Just think it's fascinating for everyone to track the controlled demolition of these two pipelines, how the media is handling it, how much detail or multiple perspectives are we getting from mainstream media on this event, which is going to seriously, apparently very seriously impact the economy of particularly Europe. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan, good to see you.
Yeah, just wanted to say that anyone, as treasurer for the Lawyers Committee, I know who you are. Who has contributed and who hasn't, and I certainly hope everyone on this group does contribute, because Mick Harrison is doing fabulous work and we're focusing stronger than ever. We're looking into a new phase where the Lawyers Committee is going to be just lawyers on the board. And that I think that's a pretty good direction to
That'll make the rude boys
really
happy.
really focus on lawyerly work. You know, so I'm looking forward to this new phase for the Lawyers Committee, and I hope you all support.
Anybody that wants to, I made a really easy URL to get there. If you would like to donate to them, it's 911lawyers.org/donate, and that'll redirect right to their page. Thank you, Susan. Kale, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but anything for the group, brother?
Oh, no. No, good.
All right.
No, just say thank you for
Yep.
everything you do.
Yeah, if we could try not to like poop on other people. I hear you're trying to be real, Ed, but to hear like, you know, people aren't entirely accurate, I don't want to go there. Anyway, Ray, anything for the group?
Yeah, it's interesting that we all have a clear idea what happened there. Everybody has this picture in their head, and it's really wanting to change your own picture. If you are able to change your picture with all that you see, and that's the thing, that we're not looking at 9/11, we're thinking about 9/11. We're not looking at it. And my focus is on collecting as much pictures as I can from that day. And every thought that I have to every detail has to fit in that picture, otherwise the thought that I have about what happened there is not accurate. It has to take all facts into account, and then you can listen to witnesses, but the photos and videos are for me, they are hard evidence. So it's kind of stone you have to the touchstone, I don't know how you call it in English, a toetsteen or stain, we call it in Dutch. You really have to take all aspects of that day and look at it from a bird's eye view, but it all has to fit in one another. And that's why I look at the Pentagon with a bird's eye view, looking at all the evidence which is surrounding that area, and then you get a picture of what happened there. And what happened there was so powerful that it generated a shock that was captured by a seismographic agency. And if you take the pipeline says something happened there, because there was a seismographic shock noted. And the same is with the Pentagon too. And if you go to New York, you have the same thing. The seismographic information is there. Even those things count in the picture. And we were told a lot of things, but we were not told everything. So we have to keep an open mind to in ourselves, that we're not going to say, I have the truth in my hand, but I am willing to go to the truth. It's really opening your own mind, because a lot of people have a fixed attitude when it comes to 9/11, and I think nobody can have that fixed attitude, because we were not given the information by by the government, and we were there's a piece missing.
Yeah, but I don't think you're going to get anyone to disagree with you on the fact that we were not told everything that we needed to know.
Yeah,
I mean-
okay, but you have the guy with the bag standing with the tree, and he's
Yeah, okay, but
collecting.
there's a ton of things.
No, but he's collecting
fun.
things. He's collecting things.
Yeah.
Where is the report of that man collecting
That's
things?
fine. That's fine. That's
But
one
it's
small
not-
example.
No, but it's
Alright.
not there.
Thank you for the wrap up.
It's not there.
Wrap up. Thank you.
And it's very important that we like you know, everybody has a piece of truth, all of us, but it's like fighting one another is saying my truth is the truth and my facts are true. No, the pictures, the facts in the pictures are true. That's unmistakable. You cannot argue about this leg laying there.
Nobody's arguing.
No, but
No.
people are not focused on every aspect of 9/11.
It's a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, it has to fit all together.
Thank
Like
you for
any
that
crime
30-second
scene.
wrap up. Thank you for the
Yeah.
30-second wrap up. Ross, anything for the group?
Yeah, in 30 seconds. So 2 hours ago, I published my hypotheses on how
Yes.
how specifically the towers were brought down. And I mean more specifically than any other hypothesis I've seen to date. So I hope everybody reads it. I think I wrote it, spent a lot of time writing it to make it as understandable to a layperson as possible. And it's not my main goal here to figure out what happened in detail to the towers on 9/11, but because of my background and my profession and my experience, I think I have the ability to at least posit the most detailed hypothesis that we've seen so far as to how they were actually rigged with the explosives, rigged with the detonators, in a practical way that actually makes sense that you could do. I haven't seen that from anywhere, any other venues. So I hope that people comment, and I hope it pushes other people who might have a better hypothesis to actually put that forth, because the lawyers really do need to have those kind of specifics in their pocket if they're going to really go for, a courtroom where they have to say, well, what exactly happened? It can't just be, well, the towers were demolished. I mean, we know that, but they need to have the specific ways that it was done. So I came up with that. It was published 2 hours ago and already has gotten almost 100 likes on Facebook, and I've copied it to almost 45 people on Messenger, and I sent it out to the whole email list. So that's to help everybody. And I copied it here in the chat, the PDF file. So hope everybody will take a look and then critique it. Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much, Ross. Sorry, I didn't mean to overlook that. Yeah, did get this. Take a look at it, everybody, and give them some feedback. Appreciate that. Thank you, Ross. Sandra, anything for the group?
I just want to say this was a great call. A lot of important things were said, and I thought it was really constructive and it was really insightful. And it gives me hope that we have places to go with all this.
Thank you. Ed?
Just to be clear, and if somebody, I don't care who it is, if anybody's saying anything within the 9/11 Truth community that has demonstrably been shown and easily provable to be false, I'm going to make a comment and correct it. Just as I hope to God somebody corrects something that I say that is demonstrably incorrect, because it doesn't serve anyone in any way to maintain false ideas, false information, and perpetuate that into the 9/11 Truth community for people to only gravitate toward and then accept, and then all of a sudden it becomes a dogma. So I'm going to point out mistakes where I know there are mistakes, and I hope to God people point out mistakes I make when I make mistakes. So I just want to make that clear.
thank you for that. And that's fair enough. For those that are in the 9/11 Truth group movement and Facebook group, I just made 2 posts basically reiterating, people were attacking each other again in the comments, and I'm done with that. There's one rule in the 9/11 Facebook group, Truth Movement Facebook group, and it's to respect each other. And I don't care what you want to talk about. If somebody wants to bring up Judy Woods or the ball theory or anything, bring it up. But I expect people to talk to each other civilly. So yeah, a gentleman had just asked a question about, what was it? It was a great example too. Forgive me, I'm digressing because I.
Was it Mark Tracy?
No, let me see here real quick. Forgive me, I wanted to wrap this up. The Bush, oh, there we go. Here it is. Let me just share it. It's a great example. What Ed's talking about, if something's demonstrably false, yeah, you should call it out. And this was Scott Nicholas asked, has anyone seen the video footage of Bush in the classroom where the kids start talking about kite hit, steel plane must? And this is a very old bit of disinformation was out there, and you can see the words are steel, STEAL, playing, not playing, kit, not hit. But you hear the disinformation out there, and people are like, oh yeah, he said hit steel plane, and it's not it. So it's good to point out something that's not accurate. I agree with you, Ed. Thank you for that. Joseph, anything for the group?
Oh, my goodness. I'm glad to be kind of back in with the energy and the activity. I really appreciate it. I was going to show a Nike missile and say my missile was bigger than somebody, but that's not it. I guess that's it.
I love your humor. Thank you, Joseph. And Al, anything for the group?
Yeah, a couple of things. I wanted to mention, I had spoken with Eric Lawyer, and he's in contact with the sprinkler company. I was trying to get him to hit them up for money. He didn't know if he was going to do that or just have their support for Papa. That was one thing. The other thing was I'm fully behind Miles in terms of the Ukraine and the pipeline, for everybody to keep an eye on that, because if we go to war, if it comes to war, we're all screwed. And, I think, again, the anti-war people are going to come out of the woodwork. The other thing is, I just think I love Ray. I view him as the 9/11 Columbo investigator. He's always coming up with a key point that I think he's dead on with a lot of what he has to say. And that's about it. Just keep an eye on the Ukraine. The next few weeks are going to be critical.
Am I the only one on the call with a Geiger counter?
I think so.
Oh, it's just, I couldn't find it. I was trying to find Columbo with him saying just the facts, ma'am, but I couldn't find it. But thank you all again for being here. Great talking to you. Good conversations. You're good people. Have a great evening and a good rest of your week.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Next week. Thank you.
Right.
Maybe see some of you on my Zooms. Looking forward.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.